Tonight, John Avildsen, the Academy Award-winning director of Rocky and the Karate Kid 1 and 2, join us to bring to you amazing segments. What happens when two teenage girls are thrown out into the streets by their parents and are left to fend for themselves?
This is where we stayed. It was cold and scary, and I was scared of rats running around.
John Avildsen tells you the startling true story of two girls who went from no house to Options House. What do you do when you're thrown out onto the streets with nowhere to go? John Avildsen, the director of Rocky and the Karate Kid, tells us in our next amazing segment.
Yummy. Very good, Daniel-san. Time for the next lesson.
All right.
Not every kid is the Karate Kid, and not every kid is lucky enough to have a Mr. Miyagi. In Los Angeles, there are thousands of kids pushed out of their homes by their abusive parents. They end up living on the streets without food or shelter, or anyone to care for them. Yvette and Stephanie have been best friends for 5 years. Over a year ago, they were both thrown out of their homes by their parents.
It both happened to you in about the same way. Yvette, your mom told you out. I never want to see you again.
She just said, get out of my house, and we left. And I knew then and there that I could never have any type of relationship with her and that we could never live together.
And this had happened before?
She used to say it a lot. She did it a lot when I was little.
She'd threaten you, if you keep this up, I'm going to throw you out? That kind of stuff?
Yes. My mom used to threaten me all the time. She used to do this like...
That must have been really scary.
And she used to do it all the time.
So imagine that you're 15 years old, living on the streets with no one to turn to for help. What do you do?
This is where we spent about a week, right here on this rooftop. You know, compared to what was going on at home, the roof was better than home. We slept in this car, and my bear's in there, I hope.
Pillows and stuff, and everything's still there. Some of the blankets are still here, and she found her teddy bear.
Oh, poor baby, what happened? Oh, you need to be where I found my boo-boo. This is where we found our new beginning.
In Los Angeles, there's Options House, a kind of real-life Mr. Miyagi. It's a place that helps kids return to their families or finds them a new home.
I expected the worst, you know, and I was scared. I didn't know, you know, what it would be like because I've never been to a shelter. And when I got here, I was so surprised.
There were kids who had gone kind of like the same thing we went through. So we didn't feel alone out there in the world. It was like, you know, kind of like starting a new future. We never trusted adults because of all the negative responses we have had before in the past. But then when, you know, when we got to know them that, you know, they really wanted to help us and help us help ourselves, then we learned how to trust them and talk to them about our problems.
So when they come into Options House, we establish a very, very structured daily life for them. And the kids like that because it says someone cares enough to say no. Someone cares enough to say, you're going to go to school today. And so every morning the kids have 3 hours of educational program here. Every afternoon we have 2 hours of group therapy. The kids learn how to take care of the house. They do all the cleaning, cooking, laundry, yard work.
We were so used to doing whatever we wanted, and to just throw us in a foster home. Okay, now you have a family. Okay, you know, do your chores. And it would have been like a culture shock. You know, we wouldn't have known how to handle it.
Options House is the only shelter in the city of Los Angeles for both boys and girls in a group home environment. And by that I mean where we have intense counseling and therapy for these kids. We're the only shelter in the city of Los Angeles, which is unbelievable.
By coming here, it kind of settled us down somehow for a while because, you know, you're accustomed to doing whatever you want, coming home at whatever time. We came here, you know, we had chores, we had hours to be here, you know, we had rules. So that helped us in a way that, you know, we didn't go wild once we got to a foster home.
Now Stephanie and Yvette live in foster homes. Using what they learned at Options House, already these two young ladies have begun to succeed.
First of all, I have a home and I go to school and I don't have to worry where I'm going to sleep tonight. You know, how am I going to get my food? How am I going to get clothes? How am I going to take a shower? I don't have to worry about the necessities. All I have to worry is about going to school, getting my life back together again. This school is a much better school than all the things that I've been through, and it looks like I'm gonna make it. I expect to graduate out of high school and, you know, go to college. Before, I used to think a lot about, you know, other ways of getting it out, like drugs, drinking, and ditching school and doing all those things. Now I look through negative things in a more positive way.
A lot of people are going to see this show, and they're going to meet you, and they're going to get to hear your story. And let's say they feel, gee, I'd like to do something. That's a terrible thing when so many kids are wandering around, no place to go, in need of help. What could they do?
Donate money.
To who?
To shelters.
At Options House, it cost us about $600 to $700 per kid. And that's quite cheap when you look at the fact that if this kid stays wandering around the streets, they're going to end up hopelessly involved in crime. They're going to end up in juvenile hall, in prison. They're going to become the mentally ill people of the street in a few years, which is going to be much more costly. It costs $20,000 to $30,000 for prison, and these kids are on their way.
If not for that shelter, I would not be standing here. I would not be standing anywhere on the face of this earth. I would be lying on my back on some street or in a grave. We're the ones who are going to be running this society in the future, and I'm sure they're going to want
Capable
people,
right?
and responsible people, not people who are so angry that they feel like ruining the society because of it, you know, because of their not being heard.
I hope everybody hears that.
There's a hope, there's a choice, there's someone to hear your voice, and you'll never have to be alone again. No, you'll never have to be alone again.
I was very interested in Options House and the work that they were doing, so I figured, well, I'll use the opportunity to let more people know about Options House. In other words, these kids wandering around don't turn out to be model citizens usually. And if they're not model citizens, then we've all got a problem. I hope people become more aware of Options House, and if they're so moved to involve themselves with Options House, is doing volunteer work, or sending them money, or talking to their local politicians to find out how the situation can be corrected.